apparently the Switch 2 key cards are not selling like whatsoever. And ask yourself who's surprised, really. Like, honestly, I don't want to sound like I'm the only person that was saying this because I wasn't. But I definitely was saying it at the very beginning. I've said since day one, the Switch 2 is a first-party system. And anyone that is a third party that is trying to get by on the cheap with a game key card, it's not going to work because I would rather, personally, I'd rather buy the game digitally on Steam for cheaper when it goes on sale than buy a key card with literally no game on the card. Like, what's the point of this? I'm not going to support this practice, which some could argue is kind of what they want you to do to push you in the direction of, oh, I guess no one wants physical anymore. We'll just go all digital. It's like, no, you idiots. That's not what we're saying. When we buy physical, we want the actual physical game on the physical card. But I said, remember when I said the Switch 2 is going to be a first-party system for gamers? Yeah, no one is on board with buying game key cards. We are winning. They have to change the strategy. And this comes from us to us from Wario64. Said the games business, most third-party Switch 2 games posted very low numbers. One third-party publisher characterized the numbers as below our lowest estimates, despite strong hardware sales. Now, remember, this is coming out of, what was it, Nintendo announcing that they sold, what was it, over 1 million Switch units on launch day? Like well over 1 million? And they had below our lowest estimates. It was the fastest selling Nintendo console in history and below their lowest estimates. Cyberpunk 2077 was the best selling third-party game. Has the game actually on cart, beating launch sales of Witcher 3 on Switch 1. And this is just a handful of the games that are game key cards. And to be honest, it's genuinely tragic because I feel like people are missing out on a great game. Bravely Default, I loved Bravely Default. And I feel like nobody even knows what game that is. So like, Bravely Default, what is that? It's a Square game? I'm like, where was everyone like when this came out? Was it like 10 years ago or 14 years ago? What's it? God, time goes by. It was probably 10 years ago for Bravely Default. It was so good. My favorite one in the entire series. It's a cutesy Final Fantasy style games as well as fans. Yep, exactly. It's tragic that this was a game key card because I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not buying that. I would have considered purchasing it. I genuinely would have considered purchasing it if it was the game on the actual card. But game key card, I just laughed at. I was like, yeah, no, that ain't happening. I'm not going to ever support this practice ever. Especially at full price. Yeah, like, do you think we're idiots? And this comes to us from GoNintendo. Says, rumor, third-party titles selling slower than expected on Switch 2. And they talk about how the Switch 2 has been a runaway success, selling, I said over 1 million, over 3.5 million in the first 4 days. And the third-party sales are lower than their lowest estimates. There's no doubt that total is well north of 4 million units sold right now, and thousands more are joining the fun every day. Unfortunately, it seems like those diving into Nintendo's next-gen system aren't too keen on checking out third-party offerings just yet. And, it's a very expensive console. You're talking, if you're getting the Mario Kart bundle, it's $500 out the door plus tax. So in California, what's that? 550-ish, 540, 545, something like that, out the door just for the Switch console. Then if you want to buy a carry case, which obviously you're going to, that's another $30. Then if you want to buy a Pro controller, which most people would, you don't have to because you can play the original Switch Pro controllers. But say you're buying a controller, that's another, $80 or so. You want to buy a second pair of Joy-Cons, that'll cost you another $90, plus tax for all these things. And, oh, by the way, you want to buy a screen protector, and I'm trying to think of like all the stuff you buy alongside a new console when it's walking out the door. You get all that, and you are already talking before you even buy a game in addition to Mario Kart World that comes with the Switch. You're already talking about $1,000 cash after tax for everything together before you even buy a second game. So yeah, I think people are going to be a little bit questioning with their money and if it's worth spending $70 to $80 on a third-party game that is already available on multiple systems previously. And most of these are already available at steep discounts on other consoles as well. And if there was no such thing as a Steam Deck, you could make the case for, oh, I want to play these games mobile. It's like, well, get a Steam Deck and get the game on clearance on Steam for $10. Why would you spend $70 for a game that doesn't even exist with a game? It's what I've been saying since before this even came out. I don't think Nintendo thought people were even smart enough or that they could fool everyone. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. They were being so greedy. They were being clouded by greed. Their judgment is completely gone with this. The details about would make it look like third parties have done slightly better on Switch 2 and Switch 1 at launch, but there are a number of factors to consider. For example, Switch 2 has sold more units than Switch 1 at this time, and Switch 1 had 5 physical third-party games at launch, while Switch 2 has 13. Along with that, while no name is given, one third-party publisher on Switch 2 said their game sales have come in below the lowest estimates. Now, I have this clip from the game business, and this is Chris Dring from GameIndustry.biz. I think he got let go from there, so he's doing his own thing right now. I think he has me blocked on X. I'm not sure, but GameIndustry.biz does. But this is him talking with someone about their insider information about it. So let's take a listen to what he has to say. I fast forwarded to the part that I heard him talking about it. So let's hear him.
There were no reviews. Yeah. So again, they might see a delayed effect on this. But this is my personal take on this. I've been speaking to a bunch of third parties in the build-up to Switch 2, and I spoke to Take-Two and Strauss-Zelnick. They're very much asking Nintendo to deliver for them. They're saying, look, we've backed you, we've given you some games. Nintendo, you need to help us be successful on your platform. Otherwise, why would we keep doing that? Too many people come in for your games. How can we grow our games? But I still think they need.
Which, by the way, that's the same problem people have had with the original Switch, and I mean, the Wii and the Wii U, especially the GameCube. Like every Nintendo product, people buy Nintendo consoles for Nintendo games. Third-party publishers are always like, "Hey, there's a big audience there, but you need to make it worth our while to try to even bother, because otherwise people are just buying your games and they won't have any money left for us. So what are you doing for us? Especially if you're a big publisher like Take-Two."
Need to meet Nintendo halfway. The Switch audience is broader now. There are more adults that play Nintendo consoles than there were back in the 90s or whatever, when perhaps it was more of a kid's machine. But Switch users expect to be able to plug in their game and play it. That's what they expect, and they expect to be able to take it out with them. They expect it to be flexible. When you've got a game like Hitman, which requires online connectivity, and then also is a game key card, you have to download the thing, I don't think speaks to that audience effectively. I'm not surprised Cyberpunk is the number one third-party game, because we had CD Projekt on the show about a month ago. They really thought about what the Switch, they knew Cyberpunk's not the, isn't a kid's game, isn't a family game, but they knew the Switch audience might be interested in it if you can put the game on the cartridge and if you can make sure that it, it adapts to both portable and the console environment. I just think Nintendo got to be careful. They've done this before where they've sort of scaled back or at least softened their focus on first party in order to push third party. I think that would be a mistake. People come into the Nintendo platform for Nintendo games, and then they discover the other games and they might try the other third-party games out. But
again, I keep going back to, that's why the Switch 2 could perfectly be a great system. If it has great first-party games, people will buy the Switch 2 for that. The problem comes in is, well, you could say the same about the Wii U, where there were fantastic first-party games. But because of the limited third-party support, people were just like, yeah, no, I'm just going to buy a PC. I'm going to buy the PlayStation 3 at the time. I'm going to buy the Xbox 360 at the time. So they lost customers because of the limited options. And once again, the Switch 2 is doing the same thing. They're trying to make up for it with the, oh, hey, publisher, third-party publishers, you can join our ecosystem for way cheaper this time around. You don't have to buy our nasty, expensive game cards like we charge you on the Switch 1. This time, we have an option called the Game Key Card, where it's that tiny bit of memory. It barely costs anything, and you can still charge $70 to $80 for it. Why would you not? You can make so much more percentage on your sale on the Switch 2 than on the Switch 1. So, of course, it's going to make sense for you. The problem comes in is these publishers do it, and then no one's buying them because they don't want that. That's the impasse that they've reached right now.
I do think third-party companies, too many of these games were these game key cards. I'm not against the idea of them. I just don't think they work. I just don't think they're not going to work that well on Nintendo format because of the expectation of that audience. And indeed, a lot of the games didn't do very well, and a lot of them were effectively digital download required titles. Did you play any third-party games on Switch? Did you have a Switch 2, Chris? Are you on board? Are you?
I do. I mean, the only thing that I've been playing outside of Mario Kart is Fast Fusion, which is the $15 indie game that is excellent.
I bought that. I would not say it's excellent. It's decent. It makes me yearn for F-Zero. It's decent. It's like a Wipeout, a next-gen Wipeout. It's a little bit sluggish on the controls, and it's a little bit repetitive on the levels. It's a fun multiplayer game. It's a very boring single-player game. I bought that, played it. I wouldn't say it's excellent, though. For $15, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Oh, I skipped ahead. Or behind.
In order to push third party, I think that would be a mistake. People come into the Nintendo platform for Nintendo games, and then they discover the other games, and they might try the other third party games out. But I do think third party companies, too many of these games were these game key cards. I'm not against the idea of them. I just don't think they work. I just don't think they're not going to work that well on Nintendo format because of the expectation of that audience. And indeed, a lot of the games didn't do very well, and a lot of them were effectively digital download required titles. Did you play any third-party games on Switch? Did you have a Switch 2, Chris? Are you on board? Are you?
I do. I mean, the only thing that I've been playing outside of Mario Kart is Fast Fusion, which is the $15 indie game that is excellent. And I think I've seen in the top 10 on the digital store, but I don't know what that means in terms.
That doesn't really mean anything because there's not very much to pick from that costs much to like that's why I bought it. It was $15 and it was off the recommendation off someone who DM'd me about it. They're like, oh, check this game. I was like, oh, $15, sure. I'll give it a shot. And yeah, it was fine, but I'd rather play F-Zero. it didn't really like it scratched the itch, but it didn't like make the itch go away type thing, you know?
In terms of sales?
No.
Again, it's hard for me to make sense of any of this for all the reasons you mentioned. I mean, just the fact that it costs so much, and then you buy Mario Kart, and maybe you buy a subscription to Nintendo Online, and at that point, are you really just in the mood to spend more money on a game that is old?
Oh, that's the other thing I forgot to even mention. When you're at the store spending nearly $1,000, oh, and by the way, you need to pay for the Nintendo Online service to even play Mario Kart Online, which is like the main point of the game. So that's another cost that's going into this. Like there's so many costs going into it that Nintendo is making that third parties won't see a dime of.
Old, right? Like that's the other part. These aren't new games. These are some of them that have already been out on the Nintendo Switch. So I don't quite get the.
And by the way, I live in this world. Like I eat, sleep, breathe, live video games. And the Switch 2 upgrade game situation is confusing as fuck to me. I own a Switch 2. And I'm like, okay, so Breath of the Wild, I need to pay $10 to upgrade, but some games I don't need to pay. But then some games are in Switch 2 boxes that are Switch 2, but they came out on the Switch 1. But those are the Switch 2 versions. But the Switch 1, I already own it. Do I need to buy the Switch 2 cart or can I just upgrade? It's so confusing. And this is someone that lives in this world saying this. Could you imagine someone that owns a Switch 1 buying a Switch 2 that just casually plays games being like, whoa, what? I already have that game. Why would I buy it again?
Appeal. I know that like Cyberpunk, I think, is very clever in that people who buy the Switch and only the Switch maybe haven't had a chance to play that. Do I think people who want to play the new Sonic or even Hogwarts Legacy, who also own a Switch, are the type of people who have made an effort to go play those games elsewhere? Probably, I think. But again, it's tough to know because the data is so invisible. The thing that I can't stop wondering about is where is Ubisoft and what does this say about Ubisoft? Because Ubisoft
I didn't even think of that. There's no Ubisoft representation on the Switch 2 at all. Wow.
had a reputation with Nintendo for a while of being the publisher that's going to make new weird things for the launch at Nintendo. You know, Nintendo always tries to woo different third-party partners, and it feels like a different set of them fall for it each time at the beginning of the console cycle. I remember ahead of the Wii U being shown Call of Duty and being told, this is the grown-up third-party Nintendo console. But Ubisoft was consistent. You know, you could expect a Red Steel, you could expect a Zombie U. They would have something kind of surprising. They seem to have a really good relationship with Nintendo, and now it feels like they're just trying to survive, hang on for dear life. And I imagine you can't make a lot of space for Wii or Switch 2 launch games when you're in that position.
Possibly. I mean, the Prince of Persia, that Prince of Persia game they released last year, which I know didn't do great numbers, it sold best on Nintendo, right? It was a very, I know it wasn't an exclusive Nintendo game, but it was I think also the days of exclusive sort of over. It's worth noting the Mario and Rabbids team have largely disbanded, although Ubisoft Milan still exists. The people behind that game have gone and formed a new studio. I know they had pitched another title that didn't get approved. I don't know why, but it sort of never happened, which was, again, I think tied to Nintendo. So that sort of team was doing those sort of things. They do have Star Wars Outlaws coming, but I think I agree with you. I think, look, it's easy. You can port your game to Switch 2 and you can probably find some players. And if you do it right, like Cyberpunk did it, you might be able to find an okay number of players. We had Matthew Ball on the show, said, look, your big audience isn't going to be on Switch 2.
I think the problem is with this is people aren't going to just spend full price on a game that's been out for 2 years or a year or 6 months or 3 months. Like, no, sorry. I know it's a new console, but the game is old. Like you need to, I thought Nintendo was telling us that the game prices are going to match the expectations of what we're going to get out of it. Well, if it's an old game and you can get it on Steam for $20 now or $30 on sale, why is Cyberpunk $70 at launch? Why is Hogwarts Legacy $70 or $60? What is it, $60 or $70 at launch? These are old games. Some of them multi-year old games. What are they doing at full price at launch? They should be coming out at $50 max. $50 max, and that's high. No wonder they're not selling. No wonder. But anyways, I'll put this video in the chat if you guys want to watch the rest of it. But basically surmise it to say that they are trying to make sense of why the games are not selling the way that the third-party publishers expected them to. But there is zero confusion when you actually look at this logically. People aren't stupid. People aren't just throwing money at nothing just to hopefully get a new game. It's like, no, people already own these games. They want new games. I'm looking at it from a perspective of a Nintendo fan. I'm going to be buying Donkey Kong Bonanza. That game looked awesome, by the way. I don't know if you saw the direct on it, but man, that actually looked better than I was even expecting. I was like, oh, this is actually more than just a Mario Odyssey clone. It looks good. Okay. So I'm on board for that game, and I'm looking forward to that. But outside of that, Metroid Prime 4, nothing in that comes out third party. I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, I can't wait to get that on my Switch 2. It's like, nope. The Switch 1 was my system for everything. Now my Steam Deck is my system for everything, and my Switch 2 is going to be just for Nintendo games. It's back to that again because the price doesn't make sense, and the game key cards are way too much money for what you're getting with it. I just don't believe in that practice. But anyways, I'll leave that one there.